Shelley almost got the steal. How about Clark? Oh, she is so smooth.
Holy smokes. Another deep three.
What did she do? What did she just do?
Do I need to call you the female version of Steph Curry, or do I need to call Steph Curry the male version of Caitlin Clark? I mean, which one is it?
She's, I've kind of dubbed her like box office.
A deep one. You bet! Caitlin Clark gets it into Clark. Clark races away, and the mythical mastery of Caitlin Clark continues. Iowa has conquered South Carolina.
The game of basketball has no shortage of star power. Larger-than-life personalities are what make both the NBA and college basketball such a compelling draw for fans across the world. But in the town of Des Moines, Iowa, there was a young girl who dreamed of changing the game forever, and her name was Caitlin Clark.
You know, I grew up a super competitive kid. Like, I loved the moment. I loved when the lights shine the brightest. You know, I always grew up watching the game. I had cousins that played. So, you know, just a super competitive family, and I loved being around sports.
I'd probably have to say when she was pretty young. I think around probably age of 5 or 6, when she was just doing, rec basketball league type stuff or rec soccer league type stuff. She literally, I would say, would score quite a few goals in soccer, and the same way with basketball. I mean, she would pull up from the free throw line on a 6 or 7 foot hoop and make it pretty consistently.
You know, I kind of always was a little more gifted on the offensive end. I grew up watching the game. I had an older brother that played basketball, so I always tagged around with a lot of boys. And I think, that kind of helped me develop my offensive skill set at a younger age, a little faster than most people would. And then when I made that transition from boys basketball to girls basketball, I was, already kind of a step ahead. And I always had the will to want to be better. And I played up usually throughout AAU. I knew I loved basketball when I was pretty young, but then I eventually went to the AAU circuit around 6th grade, I want to say. And then probably by 8th grade, I knew okay, this can probably be my future. I can go to college. I want to be a pro.
Playing on the AAU circuit with All Iowa Attack, a notoriously successful program that had helped develop future NBA champion Harrison Barnes, Caitlin Clark had begun attracting the attention of college scouts from a young age, receiving her first letter of interest just months before her 7th grade year. The buzz around Clark's game would only continue to build from there, and as she continued to develop her game, it wouldn't be long until Caitlin would explode onto the high school scene. Already ranking as the #1 recruit in her high school class as a freshman, Clark would suit up for Dowling Catholic High School in her hometown of Des Moines. Over her high school career, Clark would average over 27 points per game, on her way to becoming one of the most decorated high school players in state history.
Caitlin's the type of person that competes in everything. I mean, I remember hearing from teachers that they'd have to stop games in class, because she'd get too competitive or too wound up. She loves seeking challenges. The harder a task, the more determined she is. Some people shy away a little bit or they want to be in their safe zone. She wants to go after those challenges, and she just loves the excitement of achieving a challenge or overcoming the odds.
I remember watching her when she was a summer going into her senior year. I was in Chicago for 3 days for the Girls AAU Nationals.
Yeah.
Her team from Iowa, they played together so smooth, but she was always leading it. She always had the ball in her hands. Everybody was playing off of her. She just commanded the whole game. I was like, who the hell is this? she is nice. It was like, oh, she the best player in the country. I was like, oh, I see it now. Like, you know,
right.
like when you walk in and you don't even know who anybody is, and they just be
Yeah.
like, yo, that's the best player in the country right there. It's just like, yo, that hit you out of nowhere. Like, let me really focus in on her.
By her senior year, Clark had averaged over 33 points per game, being named a McDonald's All-American and becoming one of the most highly sought-after women's basketball recruits in recent memory. However, after a lengthy recruiting process, it was a university close to home that would earn her commitment.
It takes a lot of thought. Like, it's a big decision. It's where you're going to spend the next 4 years of your life. So took quite a few visits, and eventually, like, my top 3 were Iowa, Iowa State, and Notre Dame. Mostly because I love the schools, but at the same time, like, I knew I wanted to be close to my family. But obviously, you know, Coach Bluter, she's one of the best coaches of all time, the winningest coach in Big Ten history.
One of the things that always stuck out to me about her recruitment was she was playing USA basketball before she had made her decision. It was like the summer before. It was during a live recruiting period. And Lisa Bluter and Jan Jensen both went, I think it was over to Taipei, and they followed the USA basketball, and they were both there. So sending two coaches all the way over to follow her at USA basketball. The fact that they did that, I know that made a big impact on her.
On my visits here, I always loved the girls, I loved the town, I loved the coaches. So it kind of just seemed like everything kind of fell into place, and like, this is where I should be. And, you know, now that I'm here, I know I definitely made the right decision, and I've loved every second.
I think my goal is always to win a national championship. That was my goal no matter where I went. So I think that and just taking a program to where they've never been before would be really cool and awesome, especially doing it in your home state.
From the moment she stepped foot onto campus at Iowa, Clark would be handed the responsibility of being the team's starting point guard as a freshman. Although she was highly touted out of high school, her high-risk play style and fiery person and Coach Lisa Bluter would have to figure out early on.
Just listening to Lisa Bluter talk about it, and I don't think she'll go into deep details, but you know, I think that freshman year, there were probably more than a few times where they kind of butted heads, where Lisa wants a style of play, and Caitlin, you just gotta you can't hold that horse back. You gotta let her just run and do get the ball in her hands and let her do her thing.
Shading towards Caitlin Clark's side, she'll pull and fire and hit. Reset the offense, finds Clark, shimmy. And here's Clark. Just double up on her, show her more attention, but that's the thing about her.
With a play style on the level, Clark would take the Big Ten by storm in her first season, winning the conference's Freshman of the Year award and becoming the first freshman ever to win the Dawn Staley Award, a trophy given to the best guard in the country. Coming into her sophomore year, expectations were high for Caitlin Clark. With fans returning to the arenas following the COVID-19 pandemic, fans across the country were beginning to fill Iowa women's basketball games. Curious to get a look at the player that many were calling the most exciting player in college basketball.
Caitlin Clark just continued to rewrite the history.
You know, as a scorer, like, you need to see the ball go in the rim, and like, once you do, so like, if I start the game off hot and like I hit a 3, like, oh my, like, they're going up.
Clark. Beautiful.
There's Marshall out on the perimeter. Get it right back to Caitlin Clark. Always a good shot.
What did she do? What did she just do?
Clark's sophomore season would once again be decorated with accolades, this time winning not only the Dawn Staley Award, but being named the Big Ten Player of the Year. However, despite the big expectations and hopes for a deep NCAA tournament run, the Hawkeyes would be met with a shock in March Madness, being upset by the number 10 seeded Creighton Blue Jays in just the second round.
That was a loss, not just in the second round of the NCAAs. That was sold out Carver Hawkeye Arena. And I think that added fuel to the fire because they had made it to, her freshman year, they made it to Sweet 16. And that was the kind of the bubble NCAA tournament, and they made it out of the first weekend, which was, the first 2 games, which was great. But then you lose the next year before you get to the Sweet 16, and that was really disappointing. So I know that they wanted to make a run this year and see if they could get a little bit further.
Motivated by the early exit the year prior, Clark and the Hawkeyes were on a mission heading into her junior season, and the All-American was determined to give fans a year they would never forget.
I think a lot of people are rooting for the Iowa Hawkeyes, which is really cool, but at the same time, every game's going to be tough. That's how it is. But I feel like, we rank up there with some of the best teams in America. We believe we can beat some of the best teams. I think, we have that fire of getting upset early from last year. I think that'll really drive us, but, we want to reach the Final Four. That's our goal, and, we know it takes a little luck, a good draw, a lot of hard work, and but we're going to do everything we can to get there.
Clark, there she goes again. Yes! Shelley almost got the steal. How about Clark? Oh, she is so smooth.
What impressed me this year is everything around her is slowed down. There's no panic. She'll just come down, find a way to get a bucket, or find her teammate to get a bucket, and there's no worry about it. It's that wasn't there the first 2 years sometimes.
Hawkeyes trying to weather the storm. Clark spinning, throwing up a circus shot, and one.
As the season continued, the hype surrounding Caitlin's game only continued to build, with Iowa women's basketball games becoming one of the hottest tickets in college athletics. The Hawkeyes would sell out every home game in the 2022-23 season, and even began to see away games packed with eager fans.
She's a phenomenon. I've kind of dubbed her like box office, just because she is, her talent is unique. I don't really, I've not seen anything like this in the women's game, where she just captivates audiences, and it's even opposing teams that want to, that their fans show up in larger numbers.
The female version of Steph Curry, or do I need to call Steph Curry the male version of Caitlin Clark? I mean, which one is it?
I don't think anyone loves it more than her. I don't think anyone's out there loving every second more than her. It doesn't matter if she's on the court or off the court, up 30, down 30, she's going to cherish it all.
I think she enjoys the more people that can be in the arena, the better. I think, and why wouldn't you? I mean, that's what.
I'm all about growing the women's game, and I'm glad I gave a lot of something, little girls can probably scream about at the top of their lungs. And I can imagine that, when I was younger, I was doing the exact same thing.
Being named the Naismith Women's Player of the Year and becoming the first player to ever win the Dawn Staley Award 3 times, Caitlin Clark's junior season was one of the most exciting and decorated single seasons in NCAA history. Behind her 27.8 points per game and nearly 9 assists, Clark would lead the Iowa Hawkeyes into a highly anticipated appearance in the NCAA tournament. And what would follow would be one of the most incredible March Madness runs we've ever seen.
The second game against Georgia really pushed them. They play a really unique style of defense, and you've got all the thoughts in your head about, oh my God, this is going to be just like Creighton last year. And they just ground that one out. They just found a way to get there. And then, the Colorado game, they just kind of pulled away a little bit late. But the Louisville game, that was a Caitlin Clark clinic.
Clark, step back 3 is good. Here's Clark, guarded by Robinson. Clark firing again. Oh my! Caitlin Clark, a showstopper. Clark will fire and hit.
41 points, triple-double. Who does that? Triple-double in a regional final? Come on. I mean, that's crazy. But that's what she does. If it wasn't Caitlin Clark, you'd be like, how does that happen? But now you just expect her to do the unexpected.
after a historic performance against Louisville that saw Clark become the first player in NCAA history to drop a 40 or even 30-point triple-double in the tournament, Caitlin and the Hawkeyes would find themselves headed to only the second Final Four in program history. Waiting for Clark and Iowa was one of the most dominant teams in women's basketball history, as the reigning champion South Carolina Gamecocks, coached by Dawn Staley herself, were on a 46-game win streak stretching over a year and were undefeated on the season. The game would be one of the most highly anticipated of any sport all year, the best player in the country going head-to-head with the best team.
Deep team. Clark looking to turn the corner, lays it in. Austin. Clark is going to remain on the floor. Clark fading and hitting. Clark gets it across the timeline. A deep three is good.
I think everybody kept waiting for South Carolina to kind of put their foot on the gas and just have one of those stretches where they put on, a 12-0 run, and then all of a sudden they're up 10, and you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of what we thought was going to happen. And Iowa just kept right there, and Caitlin just kept them right there.
And led Iowa to their first national championship appearance in program history.
All we did was believe in each other. We might even not be the tallest. We knew they were going to beat us on the glass, but all we had to do was have some heart and some belief. And, we came through when we needed big plays, and I'm just so proud of this group, man.
Making it the most watched women's basketball game of all time.
The mission isn't finished for her and for the team. They got one more hill to climb. And I think that's going to be kind of the motivation going into next year is, got to the title game. Now let's, go win one.
She's a phenomenal basketball player. We all know that. She's proven it time and time again. But I think the biggest thing is the way she holds herself and the way she plays the game. She's doing it the right way. She's doing it the fun way. She's being a role model to little kids who want to grow up and be just like her. That's a great thing. So I think in these past 3 weeks, she's done so much, but it's not just these 3 weeks. She's been doing it, since she decided to play basketball. It's been a progression to this point. So we all know what a phenomenal basketball player she is, but it's the person she is behind it all that's inspiring these kids as well.
It's really, really special, and I don't think it's going to set in for me for quite some time. I want my legacy to be the impact that I can have on young kids and the people in the state of Iowa. And I hope I brought them a lot of joy this season. I hope this team brought them a lot of joy. I understand we came up 1 win short, but I think we have a lot to be proud of and a lot to celebrate. And I was just that young girl, so all you have to do is dream, and you can be in moments like this.
It's no secret that women's basketball has struggled to attract the interests of the wider sports audience. For whatever the reason, at all levels of the women's game, the numbers have always far undervalued the product that takes the floor. That is, until Caitlin Clark arrived. Whether it be the sold-out arenas or record-breaking TV numbers, thing is changing.
It kind of takes you back for a second because I think, you don't always realize the impact that you can have on people. It goes way further than, making a logo 3 or making a cool pass or, even winning a basketball game. I think that's what's more important to me is the joy I can bring people, and people need to start understanding that women can play with that same passion, that competitive spirit that men have played with for years. And that's what's attracting people to our game is when women are, fiery, when they're competitive, when they're feisty, when they're encouraging their teammates. You want to have that excitement to the game, and that's what's only going to, help the viewership go up even more and more, and that's exactly what we want to do.
Caitlin Clark's story is still far from finished. With up to 2 years of eligibility left at Iowa, she could soon break nearly every scoring record that exists in women's college basketball. Until then, it's important to take a moment and appreciate not only Clark's historic 2023 run, but celebrate the opportunity she presents a whole new generation of both players and fans, inspiring them by carving her own path and redefining what it means to be a woman in the game of basketball.
her range, her three-point shooting overall, her flair for kind of testing her range every night and knowing that the other team's going to try to take it away. And she's fearless.
You ask her, she wants to be the best player in the world. I don't care if it's college basketball, you know, the WNBA level or internationally known. You know, who knows where she'll end up. You know, I hope that, you know, the journey, I hope it just continues. I know my wife and I enjoy it. I mean, her two brothers support her like no one else.
The attraction is, what is she going to do next? What shot is she going to make next? Is she going to pull from the logo and drill it? Is she going to make this pass that nobody can see? That's what Caitlin does. She's just, you show up and you watch to see what magical thing she's going to do next. Men's or women's, she's the most compelling college basketball player out there today. She